Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Reload Podcast. Along with Nathan Gilsleider and Marshall Scott, I'm Justin Southwell. We thought about just waiting until maybe later in the week. Got some stuff. We'll tease that throughout the episode. But we were thinking, there's no way we can't make the listeners wait for all the amazing stuff that happened this weekend. Of course, the number 5 Cowboys, 5 for now, surely about to get boosted up a little bit more. They had a statement weekend on the mat. First Friday, they rolled past number 13, Northern Iowa. They won 34-3, winning 9 of 10 bouts, and then picked up bonus points in 4 of those matches. On Sunday, they followed it up by knocking off number 3, Iowa State, 24-9, taking 7 of 10 bouts in that one. So with those wins, the Cowboys improved to 12-1 overall and stay perfect in Big 12 action, 7-0. We're going to go through it a little bit one by one. So let's start off with Friday because, I don't want to just gloss over Northern Iowa. They're ranked 13th. They had a few ranked matches, starting off with Jax Forrest and 133 pounds. That guy was ranked 25th, I believe. But they're coming out there, black singlets. We got the blackout going. Great atmosphere. Marshall, whenever you saw Jax Forrest go out there, let's see. I want to make sure I got Farber is this guy's name. So Farber, according to the broadcast, he's known for being a really good scrambler. But even then, Jax Forrest handled business. What did you think of that match?
Yeah, I think I'd like to consider myself a pretty good writer, but I'm not, Shakespeare or something like that, as Jax Forrest might be in the scrambling game. But I mean, it was just sort of classic Jax stuff, takedowns galore. That one, he honestly was a little bit more let up instead of back points than his win on Sunday. He wins 16-0, didn't even let the kid get up one time. So I think it was just sort of standard issue. Unfortunately didn't get the Evan Frost match on Sunday. He had the flu. So that was sort of, I think it actually was the flu. I thought that as well. He didn't wrestle because they wrestled in Norman on Friday. Iowa State did. Sorry, I've already jumped to the Iowa State duel, and we said, hey, we're going to do Northern Iowa first. But anyways, Frost didn't wrestle on Friday in Norman. So then comes there, doesn't wrestle again. We got Dresser, the Iowa State coach, after the duel. And he said that kid went to bed on Thursday and woke up Saturday, basically. So it does appear as if he actually had the flu, but it really stinks to miss out on that match. But yeah, Farber, I believe he's a couple-time NCAA qualifier, goes out there and Jax Forrest just absolutely dominates him again. The big match of that duel was D. Lockett versus number 6 Ryder Downey at 165 pounds. Lockett gets taken down for the first time and basically does little the whole match. And then he's like, oh crap, there's 5 seconds left and I'm losing this match. Not only gets the takedown, which I believe would have tied the match, but then Downey, in trying to defend off that takedown so hard, ends up landing on his back. D gets 2 near fall points as the match expires and wins it 6-4 after being down, with 5 seconds left. And I don't even know that they were touching each other with 5 seconds left. And all of a sudden D. Lockett won the match. So was super impressed there. Another shout out, I think, Alex Facundo has just continued to stack good matches. I think he's on a 5 win streak against opponents in the top 15 or something like that. He had a rough start to the year at national duels, wrestled 5 guys in the top, or his national duels was all 4 of his opponents were in the top 5 of the weight class whenever Facundo hit him. And that was him, making his debut essentially. So things have steadied for him and he's looking really good now. So yeah, that's some of my takeaways. Getting Zach Ryder got hurt. It looked like he dislocated his shoulder. I don't know what the broadcast angle of that was like, but didn't look comfortable, let's say. And that's still a match that he's definitely would have wanted to win. Loses to Fox 3-1 in sudden victory after that. So yeah, those are sort of some of my takeaways from Northern Iowa. Forrest looks good like Forrest is.
There it is. So Nathan, I think you were watching this one from home. You welcome back, by the way, because you were sick down for the count for a little while with the flu.
Yeah. Let's be fair. I actually thought I thought Frost maybe had the Jax Forrest flu, but if he had what I had, there's no way you're wrestling. So, hey, more power to him. But yes, I was at home laying on the couch watching this one. So I think probably my favorite thing about this match, and you just talked about them one by one, but in general, I think probably my favorite thing was post-match, whenever you heard Coach talk, and he's got such a level of excellence that he knows and expects from the kids that you quite literally dominate everything about this, and it's not good enough. He doesn't care about the score. He doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, there's a level he's trying to get to with these young kids and with this program to get back to. And he's not lowering the standard for anybody. And you heard him talk about it, and you heard him actually call out a few guys by name, not in a negative way, but just in like an encouraging, like, hey man, I need to see more. You guys have more to give. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that when you have a coach who understands greatness and expects that from his guys. Obviously, as an individual athlete, he knows what greatness looks like. And then you coach at Penn State, and you know what that looks like. And then, you know what I mean? And so there's levels to this. And so I think that's probably my favorite thing about that whole match is seeing the standard that he doesn't care if there's 7 freshmen in the lineup. Like, you're going to wrestle the way that we want you to wrestle, or it's not going to be good enough. And quite frankly, there's quite a few of those matches that they just kind of hung on and did their thing. Yes, they got some wins, but there was way more opportunities for points and way more opportunities to do a few things in there. And coach was not satisfied. And I love that. And I think you saw that response in the Iowa State match. So that's probably my favorite thing from the UNI match.
Yeah, whenever he got back into the press conference, like post duel, I like he's a little more relaxed, honestly, post duel usually than he is even like on Wednesdays whenever we talk to him. So it just felt like, hey, they just won by a lot. Let's sort of see what kind of mood David's in. And he was like, maybe as like pissed as I've seen him, and they just kicked the crap out of that team. So yeah, that was like a similar. Like I left that press conference going like, holy crap, like David was actually sort of mad. Like what if they don't wrestle well on Sunday? Like what's going to happen? So that was something that's very noticeable from the press conference as well.
I think sometimes, actually not sometimes, most of the time, it is way easier for a coach to drill you after a win if you didn't do something. You're right, because like you won, and they will come in and they will just absolutely rip you up and down because you won, but you didn't win how you wanted to. You're trying to set standards. And so I really, really appreciate that about Coach Taylor and what he's doing.
Yeah, and it looked like they did respond. I don't want to jump ahead yet because I still want to talk about Nathan. I got to get your thoughts and opinions on that Lockett versus Downey match, because Lockett, he comes in, he's ranked number 2, Downey at number 6 at the 165-pound match. And Downey fought off single leg for a while. Lockett's the aggressor in the first period in that match, going after takedowns, but Downey was just great with his defensive counters. Not much action in the second period, another takedown attempt, another counter, and it with no score change really. And then third period comes around after an escape, down 4-1, time's running out. It's looking like we're going to lose our first match of that duel. And then Lockett just shoots a power double with 5-6 seconds left, takes him down straight to his back, and it's 4-4 at that point. They have to review it. They come back and determine, yeah, he actually got some near fall back points. He wins that match 6-4. But the fact that it went from being almost a 1-4 loss to a 6-4 victory within the last 5 seconds of the match, I mean, that's insane. But I mean, that's the kind of effort you love to see. I was just kind of wondering what your initial reaction was to that one.
Yeah, Lockett was one of the ones that coach called out after the match. And I think that's why, because we all know and we have seen him so far this year, and anybody that's watched him previously, you see what he can do when he decides to be aggressive and consistently aggressive. He's so good at his defense, and he's so good at his positioning, and waiting for the look that he's waiting to get, and then he goes to his move, right? But the great ones always have that extra gear. They're the best when your best is required. And his best was required in those 10 minutes because that match had no business being where it was at. And to be able to do that, to get the double, and then get the near fall on top of that, having an understanding of where you're at in that match time-wise, and not just being okay with getting that and then going for the win, for the kill. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was incredible. But when you see, I think part of that is like his maturation process is not waiting, is continuing to grow in leaning into his offensive prowess, using his explosiveness, right? I think as he grows and as he continues to, and we'll talk about here in just a second in his Iowa State match, it's there. He has to trust it. I think there's a trust component to it of like, I got to trust and lean into my coaches, what they're telling me, and go execute it and not just fall back on everything that's gotten me to this point. Because if you're going to win in nationals, you're going to have to score points, right? I mean, you can only, I think we saw so many times in last year's matches, especially the one that comes to mind is like the Iowa duel. Like how many of those came down to they got the takedown, we didn't, or we went to sudden and they got it. You know what I mean? And so if you keep playing that game, it's going to eventually catch up with you. And I think it was a really good lesson to learn in a match like that, because it was probably one of my favorite ones I've watched in a while since last year. Hamity had some really cool
but
ones.
It was frustrating to watch for a long time.
Yes, very much. Yeah, no, it was frustrating because you're just like, I'm not sure, especially the second period. You're just like, what are we doing here type of thing. And you know, he's a Division I wrestler too. It came up and got him, and you know, he learned on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Really a baller move. Whenever he got up, instant arm cross, just like stare into the crowd. That was sick. Like what a way to like capture that moment to, you know, be, if I was a freshman, just did something crazy like that, I'd probably just be like running around yelling or something like that. For him to just step up and coolly cross his arms and stare, I was like, man, I wish I was as cool as D-Lockett.
Pretty amazing. All right, and on the last one we talked about a little bit, Marshall touched on, Zach Ryder lost to an unranked Nick Fox. He did injure his shoulder there in sudden victory in like the last 11 seconds, had injury time, and then wasn't able to close that one out. But, you know, he couldn't get any offense going. I don't really know what was going on. He kept trying for that underhook. I don't really know why he kept trying that, because it just wasn't working. And I'm thinking, if it's not working, I mean, you've already established a setup for that, so then go to something else, you know. But never saw like arm drags or shuck by or anything like that. Level changes, you know, it drug on and on. So I don't know if that had something to do with that last match he lost. He lost a close match in the last duel. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see him get injured. Came at a bad time, because it would have been nice to have him for that Iowa State duel. But by the time we got to 184, thankfully and luckily, we had wrapped it up. So we were already in a position to win that duel. But between Friday and Sunday's duel, Oklahoma State basketball won at Utah. But before we get to basketball, a little bit more wrestling talk, because we got to just talk about how amazing it was for us to knock off the number 3 Cyclones. Not just knock them off. It was like domination, past the sticks. I mean, we were rolling. And Marshall, you were there for that. Drew Mestemaker got the crowd going in front of 10,000 fans. He was able to run the team out. So that was pretty cool. I think David Taylor said that he was a little bit nervous about that. So that was pretty fun to see. But man, what can you do? You know, you're new to town, first major appearance in Stillwater, and you're leading out one of the top 5 teams in the country against another top 5 team, and you're just in a room full of bad dudes. But Marshall, we're back in orange singlets for this one. John Smith's in attendance with his cowboy hat. What'd you see from your point of view? What'd you think about Jack's? Another impressive victory for him.
Yeah, let's start with
Spratley, because he had a big ranked matchup too. So let's go with 125, since that's where we started.
All right, I want to start with Mestemaker a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw the Stilly Boys. Stilly Boys, like the most elite content, like OSU content.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah. It was funny. So like David's giving like his pre-duel pep talk, and then he's like, "Drew, you got anything to say?" And he like turns it over to him. It would have just been funny if Drew was like, "Hide your ankle," like it's like giving some like really like in-depth wrestling talk, but he was just like, "I've heard a lot about you guys. I guess go kill him." I don't know. So yeah, that was cool. He seemed to have a good time. Honestly, they did him a little dirty. He was like sitting somewhat out in the open, so he took a lot of pictures. He signed a lot of autographs, but it seemed like everybody there was having a good time. But yeah, the Troy Spratley Steve O'Poolen match was it was weird, because Troy Spratley goes up 3-0 after scoreless first. Spratley starts the second on bottom and ends the period with a 3-0 lead because of 2 stalls and an escape. Like the Poulin kid got 3 stalls called on him, so the warning and then 2 points. And then he gets an escape, and all of a sudden it's 3-0, and you're like, "Oh, Spratley got a takedown." And it's like, no, I couldn't tell you how we got here. So super weird match. I don't think there was a takedown the whole thing. But that Steve O'Poolen guy, he's a pretty good guy. I think he was like I'm trying to think of who's a good comparison. I think like he was like a big deal as like a young kid, like coming up. Like I think he had like a big social media following and stuff like that. Him and Troy Spratley had known each other. There was like a picture going around. They're both like in New York, and they both had like colored mohawks as like 8-year-olds or something like that, like standing next to each other. So yeah, that was cool. And it's just like an impressive win from Spratley. Would have liked to see him get a little more offense going. I think that's sort of the case with a lot of 125 pounders right now. Maybe not necessarily getting into their offense, but it felt like he was in control the whole time. It didn't ever feel like, oh no, is Spratley about to drop this one?
Nothing really to talk about with Jax Forrest, really. He just
Yeah,
dominated the kid. Another tech fall, more bonus points. He's just probably David Taylor's favorite wrestler at this point, getting all the bonus points.
I was just gonna say, it's getting to the point, like even from the TV, like the arena, you can feel like the volume and the energy. He hasn't even stepped on the mat yet, and everyone's like
Funky Town hits and the place goes crazy.
Isn't it? It's just like it's so cool. Like
I got my son dancing in the living room.
This freshman just like he already the expectation, and then just be able to go and deliver. Like I get it. Like it wasn't Frost, you know. It doesn't matter right now. Like he goes and does his thing, and I'm so impressed. I don't want to make any comparison because there's really not one in wrestling I can make, but to be able to come out and meet and exceed expectation for a kid that already had the most expectation to begin with, to join a top 5 program mid-year and just to fill in and then suddenly become.
Are you saying he's the LeBron of wrestling?
Yeah, basically. But I mean, like, I don't know. I'm really, it just tells me a lot about who he is as an individual and how serious he is about his craft and what he does. And it's no mistake that Coach Taylor okayed him to be put in this position and do all the things and they agreed upon. And he's executing and he's doing it. And fans are buying in and he's scoring points. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know what else to say outside of, like, I guess you just need to see him against one of the top 4 or 5 dudes in the nation to see it, because everything else he's acing right now.
Yeah, so that 133 pound class is like crazy. People are saying it's probably the deepest in wrestling right now. So Virginia Tech has a kid that just burned his red shirt named Aaron Seidel, who him and Jax Forrest wrestled in the state finals last year. And that Aaron Seidel kid is just killing everybody as well. Penn State's got a true freshman, or is he a redshirt freshman? Marcus Blaze is a redshirt freshman. Marcus Blaze, he's either a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. Ohio State, Ben DeVino is a redshirt freshman, I believe. DeVino beat Dayton Fix at the U.S. Open this past year, just sort of get you like the level that. So like all these guys are young. I don't know. They might 133. I imagine Jax might finish like a 49 pounder or something like that, like down the line. So I don't know if everybody's going to stay at 33, but that's just a little bit about that weight class. But yeah, the kid he beat. So Iowa State's got this weird. I don't know, weird. Iowa State's got a Cuban like pipeline flowing in. So the kid that he beat, he was a Cuban who I imagine hadn't had a ton of folk style matches before. So whenever Jax was on top of him, that kid is used to the ref blowing the whistle and they've got to go back to their feet. And, you know, he was not ready for all the ball and chain stuff that Jax Forrest was hitting him with. So that was super impressive. That was technically date number 4. The weekend counted as one date in his redshirt journey. For what it's worth, I think it was Robert asked David afterwards what date that was for him. David did not know. So that would lead me to believe that if this is something that David is not thinking about, that Jax is probably going to be the guy that wrestles. I've been, trending that way for a little bit now. So yeah, I think that he's just going to wrestle, but technically he could still wrestle this weekend. They've got insert name of team Little Rock on Friday. He could technically wrestle that and then shut it down for the rest of the year and maintain his red shirt. I just don't at this point think that that's happening.
Might as well just write it out. All right, let's go over to the next match, because this is a big one, big pivotal match here at 141 pounds. We have our guy Vega versus he's number 2 versus number 3 Anthony Etchemendia. These guys they've got some history together, so they wrestled each other, or they're both Sunnyside High School alums from Arizona. Yeah, as it turns out, they're both wrestling each other, different states in the Big 12 country. So pretty cool. But what did that end up being? 4-2. Was that the final score of that one?
I think so. Like basically every match ended 4-2. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of. It was a good. It was a safe guess there.
It's sort of like a clash in styles. Anthony Etchemendia is like shorter and stocky, like ridiculously strong. Sergio is like all limb, like I'm gonna grab your ankle from in front of you, but I'm gonna reach behind your back to grab it. Like weird stuff that he does. There was a point in the third period where it looked like Sergio Vega was getting taken down 100%. He was like on his back and just like did a turtle like maneuver if a turtle was on his back, and just sort of like spun around, kept wrestling. Ends up getting out of that, and then where Sergio gets his takedown to win the match, it was on an Echemendia has his leg, and just sort of baiting, and then he leaves his ankle open while his leg is in the air. Sergio Vega grabs that kid's leg and is able to push him over, get a takedown. It was sort of cool. I mentioned like the Sunnyside alums, so that Vega gets his takedown. There's 3 seconds left. Iowa State throws the challenge brick out to get a review. They review it. It's upheld, and then Echemendia, like honestly, he just like goes up behind Sergio and like picks him up like by the waist and just sort of like dances around with him for a little bit. So that was like sort of a cool moment. But that's a massive win for Sergio. He's beaten Brock Hardy twice now, the Nebraska guy who's in the top 5, and then to get this win against Anthony Echemendia, it seems obviously he's going to have to do this again. He's going to have to wrestle Echemendia again in Big 12s. Going to have to get through a tough bracketed NCAAs, but it seems like him and Jesse Mendez, who is Ohio State's 141 2-time defending national champ, looks like they're on a collision course for each other. I think Mendez will probably be the heavy favorite right now, but it just seems like Vega is getting better and better. He's only a freshman.
Yeah, his style is pretty crazy.
Him and Jax have to do the weirdest stuff.
All
the time.
And obviously with both of them being very young kids, like they're not physically like they're all kneecaps and elbows. You know what I mean? Like there's not much to them. And then when you see him against this guy, you're like, oh, that's what a grown man at 141 looks like. You know what I mean? Like that kid was yoked. And then Vega's out there like barely filling out a singlet, and you're like, all right, here we go. I'm just so impressed with this kid. He's had a much tougher go of it, like you brought up, than Forrest has, and the opponents that he's faced, and how he's done it, and just stayed calm, stayed true, kept wrestling, and then executed right when that one moment came. He didn't miss. Just very impressive stuff. When you see kind of what Coach is building and what Oklahoma State is doing with all these young guys, and to see the growth, the maturation process, the response from the UNI match to this match, and then just to watch each one of them individually grow, like I just have the utmost respect for the amount of work that they are clearly putting into their craft and how hard their practices and their training has to be, because these kids are they're very, very impressive at the workmanship and professionalism that they show on the mats at such a young age.
Right, and this is whenever I started getting kind of busy on Sunday afternoon. So Swiderski and Frost. Marshall, I'm going to have to fill you. You got to fill me in on this one, because I got to hear a little bit of in the background, but I know that based on this last match, Vega beating Echemendia, momentum, we got 10,000 crazy fans, and at least is Swiderski beating Frost. Like this is another major upset. I wouldn't say another at this point. This was kind of like really the first upset of the day. Casey Swiderski, number 12, beating number 6 Jacob Frost 4-2.
Yeah, so this honestly started Friday night. I guess it started years ago. Casey Swiderski transfers from Iowa State this offseason, comes to Oklahoma State. We got him after Friday's duel, and I just sort of asked him. I was like, hey, what's it like? What's it going to be like going against your old team? And he just said they better be ready. And he was like, this is Cowboy country. We're going to defend it. And if you have listened to a ton of Casey Swiderski, he's a pretty serious dude. So this one obviously meant a lot to him. He gets a takedown in the third on the edge of the mat, gets a big mat return, and then is just like literally in Frost's ear on their way back to the center. To get this big takedown. There's like 45 seconds left.
That's whenever I saw, like, I heard it a little bit, and I was like, I gotta peek my head in here. What's going on? And I saw him like kind of behind him, and referee breaking it up a little bit. It was intense.
Yeah, Devin got a sick picture of it, and then so Frost is down, so he goes down, and then like as he's getting set, Swiderski's like saying stuff to the Iowa State corner, letting them know as well. I imagine everybody, the 10,000 people in the arena, were like, "Hey, Casey, you've got 40 seconds left. Like, let's get this across the line first." He does. It was obviously a big win for him. Took a couple laps around the mat. So yeah, that was huge for Casey Swiderski. Obviously, the Iowa State element to it, but then beating the number 6 guy in the country, that's big for his rankings. He sort of like Alex Facundo had some losses early, Some of his like seemed head scratching at the time, but like basically everybody Swiderski's lost to at this point is I think is like top 12 or something in the country. So it's honestly not that bad of a list. He's 10-5 now, I think. So it looks like him and Facundo are sort of on the same trajectory as far as they're guys who transferred in, didn't wrestle last year. Swiderski because of injury. Facundo wasn't in Penn State's lineup. They get here, they have a really tough schedule right off the rip, but now they're really starting to find their groove and get going. I think it's probably at a pretty good time. So yeah, that one was a massive for Swiderski.
157, Landon Robideau.
He's made a video saying it correctly. Yeah, but I've now heard it so many different times that I don't even remember which way that he said. So.
Well, he gets the decision over number 8, Zerbin. Another great match. Gosh, man, we're going to be here forever if we just go down all these. Yeah. They're so good. They're so good. Quick recap.
It was sort of the inverse of the Echemendia Vega match where Zerbin was the longer guy and Landon was sort of the shorter, stockier dude. I think he got a third period takedown like pretty much everyone else. I'll try and move a little quickly. D Lockett sort of slaughtered Connor Uton. I think he had 2 takedowns in this match. His second one was sick. Faints at one ankle. The kid reacts, leaves the other ankle, and he just it was total misdirection counterplay. That thing was a thing of beauty. At 174, Alex Facundo, another big win. He really had to work for his takedown. The guy was like over the top of him. He had his head through his legs. Facundo shifts, gets a double, has both of his legs on his shoulder, and then basically has to stand up with that kid on top of him and then dumps him. So that was a big time takedown. Isaac Dean beats Trevor Dops, who was filling in for the injured Zach Ryder. Just sort of was what it was. The 197 was like the last match of major consequence.
That was a pretty good effort by Trevor there, because it was like 5-1 against the number 12 guy, and he's coming in basically as the backup, and great effort. I think it was he gave
himself a chance,
a late takedown, right? So
give himself a chance.
That's good.
Elam Merrill was the big one. Rocky Elam, I think, was ranked second. They go to tiebreakers. There's so many woeful calls in that match, and I think they sort of went both ways. Some of them. So there's Merrill in on a leg in the first period. Has got that leg up on his shoulder, and it looks like after much work, he's sort of finally wearing Elam down a little bit. Elam just goes with a straight arm choke, gets a point taken away, or gets a point for Merrill for that, but in the grand scheme of things, might have saved him, 2 other points, because he might have got taken down. Then I believe is at the end of the sudden victory period, Merrill has both ankles. Elam falls to a knee, touches down, and then sort of reaches back. And they decided that didn't constitute as a takedown. I'm not going to act like I'm a big, wrestling rules guy, but a lot of the national people on Twitter and stuff afterwards were like, "Holy crap, that was a takedown!" So it feels like he maybe should have won there. Then they go to rideouts. For what it's worth, Merrill's right out. I think he probably could have got called for stalling a couple times. You got to get him out return. It didn't, but they didn't call it. Then they go into the third to the final tiebreaker in neutral, and Merrill gets taken down. But I think that was a really solid performance from Merrill. I think his ceiling is going to be super high. He's like a lot of these young guys sort of have to just figure out a consistent way to get to your offense. But scoring on Cody Merrill has been very tough, and getting out from under Cody Merrill has been very tough for guys. So, even in a loss, I think that was a strong performance from the redshirt freshman. 4-time All-American Rocky Elam is. So, like, you did what you could do.
He's decent, yeah.
He's not bad. I don't have a whole lot to add there. I told you guys this off camera, but I'll say it again. Like, one of my favorite things about watching these matches is when I see that Coach Smith is in the stands. He's like 5 rows up, on the coach's side, and he is just like, he's the biggest wrestling fan in the building, and he's just, like on that Merrill match, like he had his fist in the air, like asking for the 3, you know what I mean? And he's got his gray beard now and with his cowboy hat on, and man, it's just, I'm like, you know what, like, that is so cool. It went the way it has, and he's just able to come back to the mat room he built, and just enjoy good quality college wrestling. So that was what I remember that from that match. I was like, that's so cool to see Coach Smith back there cheering on those kids.
Yeah. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We need to get that guy's signature across the top of the mat. It belongs there. John W. Smith wrestling mat. Let's go.
I'm in. Cosign.
Do you know what else can get cosigned?
I bet it's the Brewster Consulting Group. I don't
Probably.
I don't
Take it away, Marshall.
I don't know if I don't know the legalities behind that in terms of co-signing with Bruce, but we co-sign everything that the Brewster Consulting Group does. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Our processes are manual and inefficient with no documentation. Our data reporting takes forever and isn't accurate. We hear all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for our business, or our projects are always over time and over budget. If so, talk with our friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines with clear processes, reliable data and reporting, and technology that actually works for you. Their team of Six Sigma Black Belts, PMP certified project managers, and seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, Brewster was founded and is run by a proud OSU alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube.
Great stuff. You know what else is great? Saturday, back it up a little bit, because Oklahoma State basketball got a victory on the road at Utah. We won 81-69. It was very nice. So let's talk about it. Marshall, you didn't go to this one, right? You did not fly out to Salt Lake City or anything.
It turns out the basketball team almost didn't fly out to Salt Lake City, so no, I didn't either.
I figured it was probably pretty rough, so I didn't know if you had a private jet that went a little smoother for those. Yeah. All right. So it's a big deal, though. We were kind of talking about it about a month ago, right? We were looking ahead, trying to figure out what it would look like at this point in the season. At the end of January, we go through the schedule, and if we make it out, maybe at 4-4, we're in a pretty good position. I think we ended up 3-5 through those games instead, with kind of that pivotal game at TCU that we dropped. But we're right there. It sounds like we're right there. And I think with this win here, it could potentially lead to maybe an upset or two down the road. So, Marshall, love to get your thoughts on how the Pokes played at Utah.
Yeah, so it's Steve Lutz's first Big 12 road win as Oklahoma State's coach. That's notable, just like how difficult the Big 12 is. Steve Lutz, before he got to Oklahoma State, literally had only made the NCAA tournament. And now it took him until basically February. I don't remember if it was February or not. It wasn't February because today's just a second.
It took 31st, January 31st.
Yeah, so it almost took him till February of his second year just to win in a different Big 12 building. Defensively, they played a lot better. Obviously, that's really where it starts for this group. Held Utah to 41% shooting, 25% from three, and then they killed him on the glass as well, 43 rebounds to 34. So those are obviously big. Anthony Roy sort of went nuclear. I think he had 26, 5 for 8 from three, 5 for 6 from the line. But I think the player of the game, and he got the hard hat afterwards, was Christian Coleman.
Absolutely.
Scores 14, has 10 rebounds. And even when he wasn't grabbing the rebound, he was like tipping. He was just active. His hands were all over the basketball. That's the kind of Christian Coleman that, at 6'9" or 6'8" or whatever he is, if he could be that active, I think that's like a really big X factor for Oklahoma State. He's sort of a streaky 3-point shooter, but he can get those rolling. But if he can just stay active on the glass, be a nuisance, and as long as he is, I think that's really going to unlock some stuff for Oklahoma State. Just hasn't maybe always been that consistent. So big win. Obviously, you'd love to get it. Utah was the worst team in the Big 12. If you have aspirations of making the NCAA tournament, you can't go to Utah and lose that basketball game, and they didn't. So didn't let we'll talk about the travel here in a bit, but didn't let that become an excuse. Just went to Utah, found a way to get a win, and got back home. They got a tough week this week. They got BYU and Arizona. So, get rewarded with your first road win with, you're playing two like surefire top 5 picks. So good luck.
I don't know if you guys have watched Arizona play, but
pretty decent.
Oh my goodness. It's aspirational for where it's kind of like when the football team went to Oregon. It's like, this is what you want to look like. It's kind of what Arizona looks like. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I thought I think you brought up a good point, Marshall. I thought the overall activity level, it didn't take like a big dip during this game, which sometimes we've seen in some of the games in the past, especially like that TCU game, like those last 4 minutes, like that activity level just took such a big dip. I think the difference, quite frankly, and you heard Coach talk about it, is they played their best defense of the game in the last 5 to 4 minutes of the Utah game, as opposed to the TCU game. It was our worst stretch. Because if we're being fair to this team, and we've all been pretty harsh on their defense, For the most part, outside of one half at Iowa State, it's been good enough to win basketball games in the best conference in the country.
The issue is whenever it goes downhill, it tanks downhill.
Completely tanks. But to your point, the activity level of a guy like a Christian Coleman in going for those extras and coming up big with the loose balls and doing some of those things, I think is what is really, when you look back at like, well, how in the world did you beat Texas A&M? Not just beat them, like we dominated that game when they're in the first place in the SEC. How did that happen? You smoked Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is a very good basketball team. And we statistically probably shouldn't have beat Grand Canyon by as much as we did. But anyways, how was that? A lot of that was activity level by Coleman and Coleman, by both Colemans. And getting back to doing that in this hardest part is the only chance that we have of this team getting to the tournament. I thought Roy was exceptional. Obviously, he shot so well. But I thought some of his decision-making, rather than forcing up a couple shots, which he's been known to do, the kick out that he had, for the 3 ball, that was really big, back to the top of the key for Parsa. I thought that was a massive, massive trust opportunity. Like, he trusted his teammate to make the play rather than just forcing something up. Something we haven't seen over this stretch of poor basketball is really just trusting and allowing your teammates to do their jobs, trusting the coaches. We saw a little bit more of that against Utah. And yes, Utah record-wise is the worst team in the Big 12. But if you go back and actually look at their games, like they've been in every single game until maybe the last couple minutes. So it's still a really good win. You're going into altitude. You have travel issues. You get a road win. You don't let another one slip away after you had a bad taste in your mouth against a TCU team that you should have beat and you outplayed. And then, now roll into this. You take BYU at home. BYU is a very good basketball team. They've got 3 elite players, 1 super elite player, another guy that's going to play in the NBA. You're going to have to bring activity level. It's going to have to be exceptional to have an opportunity to win this game at home.
Yeah, you mentioned Parsa's 3. Also, Mili Vukovic hits a big 3. His first 3-point attempt as a collegiate goes in. We talked to him today, and we were like talking to him about it, and he said, like, with 20 seconds on the shot clock, like, if I miss that, I'm sitting next to coach immediately. So he was thankful that it went in. So that like both of those threes were huge by those big guys. That they came at some pivotal moments.
Yeah, that's great. Nathan, you kind of brought me back a little bit whenever you were talking about Coleman and Coleman. I got back to the offseason with the high aspirations of what it's going to look like for the Big 12 play and how that's just going to feed families. So it was good to see kind of a resurgence of that to come back, and hopefully we can continue to see that moving forward as we coming up against BYU this week. So, and then the other thing I was going to mention was not that they need any help, but Arizona doesn't have a midweek game, so they just get to rest before they come play us. So cool.
Well, they'll be rusty.
Yeah,
that's it. They'll be rusty at home.
I think it's OSU going to play them, so it's like we'll wait here in Arizona for you. So
yeah,
do we want to get into travel a little bit? That was crazy.
Let's talk about that for just a second because
I'll just so they at 2:30. That's whenever they are supposed to meet at the Stillwater Regional Airport. The team, they get a text shortly before then, and they're like, "Hey, just so you guys know, we're having some issues. Not going to be 2:30. We'll let you know." Finally, I think they said like 9:00. They get a text and they're like, all right, come on. So it's now 9 p.m. on Friday, the day before the game. They all go to the airport and they see a bus there. And they're like, Parsifal was like, oh no, are we literally about to bus to Utah? And no, they just needed to bus down to Oklahoma City because the Stillwater Airport doesn't have the de-icing equipment that is needed to get them in the air. So they fly out of Oklahoma City finally. They land there at like 1 a.m. the day of the game. Let's said that they let them sleep in, which was 9:30 apparently. So they woke them up at 9:30, got them breakfast, went to shoot around, and then had a basketball game. So Lutz was not happy about it. You could tell in talking with him today. It seems like maybe he needs to talk with Brewster Consulting Group to get some more reliable processes. That some things are maybe moving a little inefficient. So yeah, that it's a little, obviously weather sucks. That's not fun, but Steve, in talking with Steve, it seemed like there was some stuff on OSU's end that they maybe could have done better, and maybe we'll do better moving forward. But all things considered, thank goodness that they found a way to win that basketball game, because if they would have lost and they would have left that thinking did we lose that because I didn't get in until 2 a.m.? Like that would have been a pretty brutal way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have to even deal with that. So very good, very good. It all worked out. All worked out.
Yes, Stillwater City, I think, should probably look into getting some de-icing. That just can't happen. A Power 4 program, like, you can't have. Number one, you made a good point. How do you charter a plane and then them be late for the charter? Like, not that you guys are late. Anybody else is late. Like, the plane doesn't even make it to you. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I heard they were waiting on it to get from Chicago. And then by the time it finally got there, the conditions in Stillwater were too bad, so they couldn't fly to Stillwater.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was hot about that, which rightfully so. So I don't know. You chalk it up to things that happen throughout the season. And obviously with the things that have happened with planes at Oklahoma State, you want to make sure you get everything and have every tool at your disposal to not have another tragic event. So I can imagine Stillwater people were not pleased about that. So glad everybody got home okay and with the W, and let's make it 2.
Want to make it 2. So legitimately, okay, BYU's ranked. They're a good basketball team. You just went through and knocked out 3 of their top players. They're really, really good. What are the chances? What are the odds that we actually pull off the upset versus BYU at home?
I think this team is in puncher's chance territory just because Anthony Roy and VJ Miller could just like together go nuclear. I feel like they haven't been on together in a little bit. Like that could happen, and all of a sudden OSU scoring 88 points, and it's like, okay, BYU, you might score 112, but like we're gonna find out.
No. By the way, I think did you guys see the statistic out there that was like, if Oklahoma State puts up 81 or more points, we're 25-0 under Steve Lutz. So
maybe stop playing defense entirely. Just leave 4 guys on the other end of the floor.
That's the opposite of what we need to do.
Yeah. Obviously it's going to take a great performance by the team as a whole. I think, and I'm not, obviously we don't have, I mean, we've got good players. So I don't want to say this. Kansas gave us a good blueprint on what it looks like to at least make it uncomfortable for AJ and what that would look like and what that would need to happen. Nobody to this point had really been able to force, even Arizona didn't do a great job of it, force him out of his comfort zone and make him really put the ball on the floor and become like a playmaker with it. And so that's something that, you're going to have to just take the challenge. Like, how awesome is it that you get to go up against probably the number 2 pick in the next draft, and you need to put your best foot forward. KU, essentially BYU made a late run, but Kansas controlled that game by basically saying, AJ's not going to beat us. You other 2 guys are going to have to go out there and beat an entire team, and they just couldn't do it. So I don't know. I think there's somewhat of a blueprint there that maybe nobody else really had done yet, but we'll see. I do think it's within a puncher's chance of pulling it off. I mean, I know obviously the Iowa State game was bad, but that second half, I mean, they really did what they're supposed to do against a very good basketball team. Tech, outside of the Tech game and that one half against Iowa State, I mean, it's not a talent problem at Oklahoma State. It's are you willing to do what it takes to win basketball games?
And they have had some close games. Utah, it's a rivalry game, but they played them close. We just beat Utah. TCU was a close game for them. Texas Tech, of course, Arizona, Kansas, those are close games, but those are top teams there. The other thing that I'm looking at is maybe they're looking ahead. They've got Houston coming up on Saturday, February 7th, and maybe they're just looking at Oklahoma State thinking, we could probably just show up and beat them, and maybe that comes back to bite them.
I'm going through the rest of their schedule now. So they're 3-5 in Big 12 play right now. I've counted out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more games that they could like more realistically win. So
say 8 conference wins should be tournament worthy, right?
The issue with if they win these 6 games is they don't really have, that Texas A&M game back on November 9th would be doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of like their notable wins. But you know, they go to Arizona State. I think that's winnable. TCU at home. We've already seen that. That's winnable in Fort Worth. At Colorado, I think is winnable. West Virginia, at Cincy, at UCF. And so the other games in that are BYU, Arizona, who gets taken care of this week. They play Kansas on February 18th. And then they play Houston on March 7th to close the regular season. So like those are obviously going to be tough games. You'd love to get one of those. And then even if you drop one of those other ones, now you've got a blockbuster win and, you know, 8 game, or however many. I'm bad at math and now honestly I already forgot the numbers I said. But so yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah,
but BYU or Kansas, you add on top of that to get to 9, you're for sure in, I would think.
So get one of these. If Arizona's going to be tough, especially at Arizona, but get BYU. I think Kansas is honestly gettable. Kansas has had some fluctuations in their results, especially like whether Darren Peterson plays or not.
I was going to say, if Darren Peterson cramps, you got yourself a real chance. If you don't, that's a tough one. But Kansas is starting to play better. But you're right, Marshall. They are beatable. Kansas should have lost to TCU. They should have lost a couple more games, honestly. They pulled a couple out of the fire. So I'm with you. I think good basketball team, you need to win a couple games, you know, that you probably shouldn't, quote unquote. And so, you know, the defensive effort's getting better. You need to keep it going. Need to go steal one.
And I would love to drive to Kansas City on March 9th or 10th and not have to immediately come back either that day or the next day. Because I've made that a day trip before. I've made the Big 12 tournament, leave from Stillwater, go watch a basketball game, return to Stillwater. That's how rough the Big 12 tournament has been. The only year that I didn't go was the Cade year where they made it to the finals. So maybe I should stay home. But I would love to like go up to Kansas City and enjoy barbecue, watch some good basketball. I'd love that. But here lately, it's been a lot of one and dones there. So maybe Oklahoma State can make a little noise there as well, which would help boost their resume.
How about instead of barbecue, you settle for McDonald's? Would that be all right?
That's what
no free ads, but Latrell Almond.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know where we're going.
McDonald's All-American. That's the best thing I could think of. So wanted to throw that last bit of hoops news in that we have one of our guys that's coming up. He's just named McDonald's All-American. So we've got a future star sign on with the program. So Marshall, did you get to talk with Coach Lutz about the guy with the it factor?
Yeah, we talked with Lutz. So this is the 11th McDonald's All-American Oklahoma State has had. Some of those come with a little bit of caveats, like Gerald Green didn't make it to campus because he went into the NBA. And then Bryce Thompson got here after the fact that he was a McDonald's All-American. But yeah, the quotes about Latrell Almond make you want to run through a wall. Lunch pail guy, high motor, like those type of things. Lutz told this story about whenever Almond was on his visit, they did some open runs, and that Lutz had heard that like whenever you lose an open run, you've got to down and back. And Lutz had heard that whenever Almond's team had lost, Almond was winning those down and backs. And it was like in a manner of like, are you not going to run with me? Like, is this like, I'm going to keep beating you if this is how this goes. So one of those psychos that takes like everything seriously, it sounds like. But yeah, he said he's a hard hat guy. That's the way I look at him. He's the lunch pail, put your boots on, put your hard hat on and go to work. He plays extremely hard. He's got a great motor. He's probably 6'7", long arms. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot the three, but he rebounds the ball at a high rate and can guard multiple positions. He's got an extra gear to him, or that extra, I don't know. He just got an it factor. So sign me up for that. That sounds good.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this roster right now is kind of missing, right? Is that guy to go grind one out, that guy that's like not going to let you lose. It's going to be, you know, the toughest dude on the court. Like one of my favorite things about watching Houston play is like they all have that, right? Coach has done an unbelievable job of either instilling that in them when they get there or finding those guys. And so it sounds like one of those guys. It's a big deal to get a McDonald's All-American. Number one, you don't always get an opportunity to sign one, you know, and when you do, you know, we've had varying results, right? You had Cade Cunningham, who obviously was the best player in the nation. And then you've had guys like LeBron Nash and, you know, Bryce Thompson, who have been very, very good college basketball players, but not, you know, first round draft picks. So there's levels to this. And so when you hear, regardless of his talent, that the most impressive thing about him is his work ethic and his drive and what he had to do to get to where he's at, like fire me up, right? Like you just talked about, Marshall, like how do you want to build a program with guys full of that? and I'm really excited to watch him play. I'm really excited to get him to Stillwater.
Last little bit here. I know we talked a lot of wrestling tonight, quite a bit of basketball as well. I'm sure that the people are wondering what's going on with football. Well, Coach Morris is going to have some media availability, it sounds like, on Wednesday. So we will get together. We'll talk about that probably Thursday, I would imagine, because Wednesday night you're going to be playing against BYU at 8 o'clock. So we'll have that to talk about. We'll have Coach Morris's talking points to talk about. But Marshall, anything else before we get out of here tonight?
No, say a prayer for your favorite Oklahoma State sports writer, because the Wednesday is going to be a bit of a crazy day. We've got baseball media day, so you're not going to get baseball content until maybe Thursday during the day. But Wednesday, you're probably not going to get baseball content. I'm going to go, but there's so much going on. So we've got baseball media day, we've got Morris, we've got a wrestling availability, and then there's basketball at night. So it's going to be a hectic day where I'm probably going to be typing about the basketball game and mentioning Jack's Forest or something like that. So that's going to be busy, but it'll be a blast. Really looking forward to hearing from Morris. This is the first time that he's talked with the media since they've started adding players, since that introductory press conference. So there's a lot to ask. Hopefully, there's almost too much to ask. I just hope that we can focus it a little bit.
Nathan, anything else before we head out?
No, just it's exciting times. Exciting to hear. Really excited to hear Coach Morris and co talk about this team. It's pretty awesome to see a guy like Messamaker already making his mark and doing those things. So it's exciting to see. Obviously, it's been tough couple of years at Oklahoma State for football. Feel a little juice, a little excitement again about spring ball, and it's exciting to see.
Mesta making his mark.
Boom.
That was
nailed it.
Oh, I thought everybody came up. I was like, that one was a gimme. I thought everybody was hitting that one.
No, that's great. I think that's all we got. So again, thank you to British Consulting Group. Thank you for the listeners. If you would please like, share, subscribe to show your support. We will see you later this week before the Super Bowl. So 2 episodes in the off season. What? That's crazy, but we're doing it. So keep those pistols firing and remember to reload. Go Pokes.